Welcome back to my channel. I'm Joe with Smokin Joe's Pit Barbecue. On today's video, we're getting out of the comfort zone. We're going to be making some sausage for the very first time. Stay tuned. You can see, look at this bark. It's crazy. Oh man, this is perfect. It helps to start with a nice sharp knife, okay? Oh my goodness. Look at that. All right, so before I get started on the sausage making, I want to go over the ingredients that I'm going to put in the sausage. And I got to tell you, I'm a little bit nervous about making sausage. This is my very first time, but like everything, I remember my first brisket, I just did it, and you kind of learn as you go. But as far as the seasonings, you have to weigh them out. You can't really use cups and those types of measurements. You have to go by weight, okay? So there is a rule of thumb when it comes to making sausage. So I'm cooking 25 pounds, and it's going to be half beef, half pork. 25 pounds total. So 25 pounds of meat equals 11,350 grams of meat. There's about 453 grams in a pound, and that's how I came up with this number, okay? So you take the grams times 1.5%, and that 1.5% is gonna be my salt. Now you can go up to 2%, but again, this is my first time making sausage. I don't wanna make it too salty. I can always add, but if I add, I can't take out. Now I use the salt to gauge exactly how much I wanted to add of the other spices. So I am using 45 grams of paprika, 45 grams of black pepper. I don't think that's enough black pepper, but again, I can always add. I'm also using 32 grams of turmeric. Turmeric powder is gonna give the sausage a very light flavor, but it's gonna give it a really nice color, especially when you slice into it and that fat comes out of it. It's gonna have a nice kind of orange reddish color to it. I'm also gonna use 45 grams of granulated garlic, 40 grams of onion powder, and 32 grams of ground mustard, okay? So I'm just gonna put this in a bowl and set it aside for now. There we go. I'm gonna hold on to this. All right, so I've got my spices in a bowl. I'm just gonna set this aside. I'm gonna be grinding up a brisket and also a pork shoulder. I'll be right back. All right, so here's my 12.5 pound brisket, then I have 12.5 pounds of pork shoulder. I just cut this pork shoulder in half, and again, that gives me the 12.5 pounds. It's gonna be a 50-50 sausage, okay? So we're just gonna cut this brisket into cubes, not too small cubes, but about 3 by 3 cubes, just like this. This is gonna definitely fit in my meat grinder. Nothing fancy, I'm not trimming any fat. I want that 70-30 meat to fat ratio, which is the perfect sausage. And you're gonna get that 70-30 ratio with a whole packer brisket like this, okay? And this is a prime brisket. You can see some of that marbling. Got a good amount of fat cap on it. All right, so I've got the brisket cut up. And same thing for the pork shoulder. Gonna cut some big cubes. So don't worry about cross-contaminating the beef and the pork. Again, these two are gonna be friends here pretty soon. Really close friends, okay? So about that big. I'm gonna finish cutting these two up and we'll be right back. All right, so I've got the meat all cubed up, and one thing I failed to mention was that I did put these in the freezer for a little bit. In fact, the pork shoulder pieces of it are actually pretty frozen, like this one right here, and some of the brisket pieces are kind of hard as well, okay? So they're kind of mid-frozen, if you will. Just gonna spread enough into each bowl, and then mix it by hand, just like this, and get in there and mix it up. It smells really, really good. And the reason I cubed it up is so that it fits down the chute of my meat grinder, and I don't have these big chunks in there that are gonna get stuck on me. We're gonna be grinding it obviously with the spices on there, and I might even grind it twice depending on the texture after the first grind. All right, so I'm gonna keep mixing these. I'm gonna set up my meat grinder and we'll be right back. All right, so I've got the meat all cut up. Now it's time to grind it up. So I'm just gonna feed a few pieces down the chute here. You wanna try not to start your grinder dry. So just to get it started, just like that, turn it on. All right, so I am using a coarse die, which is the number 10 die. And again, I probably will be passing this twice. I do want a little bit of texture, but I also don't want it too chunky, okay? All right, it's looking really good, as you can see there. All right, I'm gonna finish grinding this up, and I'll bring you guys right back. All right, so I've got the meat ground up, and I gotta tell you, the coarseness of the meat is a little too coarse for me, so we got some big chunks here, so I will be putting a smaller die, which is the 4.5 millimeter die, once I pass it through the grinder again. So what I'm gonna do is I wanna mix this by hand first. Since I have a lot in this bowl, I'm just gonna transfer some into smaller bowls and then mix it up. This smells absolutely delicious, okay? So this is good. I'm just gonna go ahead and mix it by hand. Get it all incorporated, get that brisket, and get that pork shoulder mixed together. Ooh, it's really cold. And that's what you want. You don't want this to warm up whatsoever. All right, so I'm gonna change out the die. Take out the 10 millimeter die and put that 4.5 millimeter in. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, I am gonna pass the meat through the grinder one more time with the 4.5 millimeter die. Just pass it through there. Shouldn't really need a plunger, but just in case. Oh yeah, this is looking really good. Look at this. This is what I want right here. All right, I'm gonna finish this up and we'll be right back. All right, so I've got the sausage mixture all ground up, and this is where we're at right now. I wanted to show you the difference between the 10 millimeter die and the 4.5 millimeter die. You can see the openings right there. Again, this is the 10 millimeter and this is the 4.5. So that's why we got this finer grind, if you will. So from this point, again, this is still really cold, but before I do anything else, I'm just gonna grab a small patty, and I highly recommend, if this is your first time making sausage like it is mine, to make yourself a little patty and fry it up in a pan, and make sure you like the texture and also the flavor of your sausage before you even start to case it, okay? Because right now is the time that you want to add maybe more salt, maybe more pepper. I can tell that I do need a little bit more pepper in this sausage for my liking anyway, so I will be adding more pepper. But before I do that, I'm gonna fry this little patty up. I'm gonna be putting this in the fridge. I'll bring you guys right back. All right, so I've got the sausage patty cooked up. Let's see how we did. Nicely cooked. You know, the only thing it needs is perfect on the salt and the seasonings. It just needs a little bit more black pepper. So I'm gonna go grab the meat out of the fridge and add just a little bit more black pepper. All right, so as I mentioned, the only thing missing from this sausage mix is a little bit more black pepper. And I'm gonna go back to my sausage making instructions, and I did add 45 grams of black pepper. So I'm gonna add another 25 grams of black pepper, total of 70 grams of black pepper, okay? So I've got my scale right here. I'm just gonna switch it to grams and add another 25 grams of black pepper. 27, okay. Just went a little bit over. Now you can see that it's not a whole lot of black pepper. So I'm just gonna distribute this like this. And also, we're gonna be adding some water just to emulsify the sausage mixture a little bit. You know, it's kind of separated a little bit. I wanna bring it together, and adding some ice cold water is gonna do that. So I've got 2 cups of ice cold water. I'm gonna add 1 cup to start with, and we'll see how that looks. Okay, that's good right there. So I'm just gonna mix this together. And really incorporate that black pepper and that water mixture. So right about now is when I wish I had a meat mixer. And in fact, I might look at getting one because I'm liking this sausage making. All right, so I am gonna add the other cup of water. Again, this is ice cold water. And continue to mix it. All right, so I'm liking this consistency right here. This is exactly what I'm looking for. And again, I saw a lot of videos, so thank you to all of those YouTubers and people that wrote articles on making sausage, because I was reading a ton and watching a ton of videos on making sausage, so there's a lot of good information out there. So a true test, if you got the right consistency, is to grab a bunch and kind of make a patty, and it shouldn't fall from your hand like this. It's really nice and sticky. So I'm gonna go with this. I'm gonna go ahead and set up our stuffer, and we'll be right back. All right, so I've got my canister here, and the instructions say to spray the inside with some spray oil. Now I don't have any, so I just soaked some olive oil in a paper towel and wiped the inside just like this, and got it all coated up on the inside. So next step is to load the sausage mix into the canister right here. And you wanna make sure that you really pack it in there. Don't have any air pockets, because that's gonna, again, create an air pocket in your sausage casing. So this is a 20-pound container. So we'll see how much of this we can fit in here. All right, so I've got about half of the sausage mixture in the container. I just made an audible, last minute audible. I will be adding some green chili to this mixture. That way I have some green chili sausages as well. So I'm just gonna set this into my stuffer. All right, so let's set up our stuffer. I do have the container again mounted in my stuffer. Just gonna crank the handle a little bit, slowly. I can see we have some air pockets in there, but we'll see how that acts here in a little bit. So you want the meat just to show up a little bit right on the tip of this attachment right here. Not too much. There it is right there. Then back the handle up. Okay, so at this point, I am using these PS seasoning hog casings. These are natural hog casings. This company does sell seasonings and stuff. I just found this. I went to Cabela's and was able to find these hog casings, and I went online to their website, the PS seasonings, and they have a bunch of seasonings and a bunch of sausage making ingredients. So the trick to these hog casings is just finding one end and rinsing all the salt off of it, running it through some water a couple of times, warm water, a couple of times for about 2 hours or so, and then just leave them soaking in some water. And it's kind of like blowing up a balloon, those real small balloons. You got to find the end. So once you find the end like this, you want to stick 2 fingers in the casing, just like this. Okay, stick 2 of your fingers in there and pick up some of that water. It's going to do 2 things. Okay, it's going to make it easier to put the casing on the tube right here, and also it's going to open up the casing as you're putting it in right here. Okay, just making it real easy to put the casing on your tube. And you're also able to find out if you have a leak inside your sausage casing, because it will leak water obviously if there's a hole. So just continue to feed that gently. All right, so now we're at the end of our casing, and I'm just going to tie a knot at the end right here. Just like that, and feed the rest on. All right, the moment we have all been waiting for. Now, a little trick that my cousin told me is to put some water inside your pan right here. I do have an aluminum sheet pan, and that's gonna make the sausage easy to slide around. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna be turning the handle to my sausage stuffer with my right hand, and then guiding the casing with my left hand. Now, I'm a right-handed person, so we'll see how this goes. And you just have to be gentle with it. Don't overstuff it, because you will have a blowout, if you will. So just feed it where it's nice and tight. Just put a little bit of pressure just to get that sausage to go into the casing. Okay, that looks good to me right there. So at this point, I'm just gonna twist the sausage in one direction, just like this. This one's actually a little bit loose, but it looks good to me. So just about 8 to 10 times. And again, I twisted this one towards me. The next one will be against me. So I'm gonna try to put a little bit more sausage into this casing here, because that one was a little bit loose. There we go, that's nice and tight right there. Okay, that looks good. Again, this one is going to go away from me. Just like that. Oh yeah, that's nice and tight. All right, this was the best one so far. It's nice and tight, nice and plump. Look at that. All right, I'm gonna keep on stuffing, and I'll bring you guys right back as soon as I make my green chili sausage. All right, so I've got the first batch done, and I gotta tell you, I learned a lot making these sausages, okay? Some of these are, you know, perfect sausages like these, and then some of them are really thick. But one thing that I learned is that you can't go much thicker than this. I did have like 2 or 3 blowouts. Some of it may have been because the casing was already punctured, but I think I overstuffed them. So I'm glad I experienced that. So I got to experience the limits of the casing. You can see the size difference right here. Again, overstuffed. And again, this is the perfect sausage right here. So I learned a lot. I tried to test the limits of the casing to see how much I could put in it. And I learned that. So I had, again, probably 3 blowouts. All right, so when I had the blowouts, I just cut the casing with my knife, tied a knot, tied another knot on this end, and started over. It's that simple. The excess meat, I was just throwing it into a pile, and I added it to this mixture again. So I've got about 30, maybe 40 sausages here. I didn't count them, but I will before this video is over. So I'm adding 1 pound of green chili. Now this is that triple X green chili, which is really, really hot. So that's why I'm only adding 1 pound. I finally chopped it. So I'm just gonna mix this in real quick and get some of that green chili all over the sausage. All right, so I've got these sausage mixed up, and you can see some of the green chilies in there. So I know this sausage is gonna have a punch to it, okay? So I'm just gonna stuff the container right here. Again, pack it in really nice and tight. All right, so I've got it stuffed, and it's about maybe 3/4 of the way full. So I'm thinking I have maybe 12 pounds or so. So I'm just gonna put this in the stuffer, and we'll start stuffing these. Stay tuned. All right, so I've got my second batch ready to go. Now on this clip, I'm gonna show you some of the things that I learned, okay? So starting with the casing, again, open it up with 2 fingers and put enough water in it, okay? This is one of the things I learned. Put some water in it, and instead of immediately putting the casing on the tube right here, just lift it up and run that water through the casing. What that does is it untwists the casing. So see, like right there, it kind of bound up. Pass the water all the way through, just like that. And then go ahead and add a little bit more water. And adding that water is gonna make the casing much easier to put on your tube right here. See that? It's a lot easier. So when you're passing the water the first time, it kind of untangles the casing, or untwist it, if you will. So what I do is I pass it all the way in and then pull it out. Go ahead and tie your knot, just a simple knot. Try to get as close to the edge as possible. Nice and tight. Okay, just like that. All right, so I'm purposely gonna leave this sausage a little loose. One of the things that I learned is you can actually put that sausage back in, just like that. So the tip of the tube is right around here. At this point, I could put more sausage in there if I wanted to, just like that, okay? And the other thing, as I went, I was twisting the sausage. I'm not gonna do it on this batch. I'm just gonna make one long, continuous link. And again, I left it a little bit thin, so I'm just gonna push it on the tube and fill it up, just like that. Again, lift it a little thin. And just continue to fill up your casing. Just one continuous roll. Kind of guide it, very little pressure right here on the tube. Again, I left it a little bit thin right there, so I'm just gonna go back and fill that. There you go. All right, so I've got this casing completely filled up. So right now, I'm just gonna twist the sausage, again, probably 5.5, maybe 6 inches. So what you wanna do is kind of move the sausage aside, if you will, and just twist and turn, and hopefully you don't pop the casing. If we do, I'll show you how I can fix that. Okay, just like that, I'm twisting this sausage towards me. So the next one, we're gonna pinch, again, right here, pinch it, and then twist in the opposite direction. These are a little short actually, but that's okay. Just like that. Gonna make this one a little bit longer. Pinch right here, and then twist towards me. There we go. So again, this is my first time making sausage, so be easy on me. So that's the perfect one right there, okay? Next one, pinch, and go away, just like that. And these are really nice and meaty, okay? Pinch right here, towards me. So now I have this longer piece. So what I try to do is somewhere in the middle, just pinch it. And this last one really doesn't matter which direction you twist it, okay? And there's our links. You can easily roll it up, just like that. All right, I'm gonna finish this batch up and we'll be right back. All right, so I'm done with this batch here and I got 42 sausages out of this batch, 95 total sausages out of the entire batch, okay? And one thing I want to show you is some of these are different sizes, and I think that makes it more homemade. You know, some of these small ones, some of these real thick ones, you know, some of these real thick long ones like this one here. So another tip is I did add some ice cubes in here because these are sitting on the counter for a little bit while you're stuffing. You don't want the temperature to get too hot inside the casing. So from this point, I'm just gonna transfer them onto a sheet, an aluminum sheet, pop them in my fridge. So letting them rest in the fridge is also gonna develop a pellicle on the outside, so a kind of a coating, if you will, and that's what the smoke is gonna stick to once you do smoke them. All right, so I'm gonna be putting these in my refrigerator overnight. Tomorrow I'm gonna smoke a handful of these and see how we did. Stay tuned. All right, so it's the very next day and the sausage was in my fridge for 24 hours, and I gotta tell you, the skin really firmed up and they got a little bit more plump than when I initially put them in. I'm gonna bring you guys in closer to take a look at those here in a bit. But I do want to talk about the stuffer that I used in the video. This is not the one that I used for the video. I actually went down to the store and purchased a stuffer. Now there were some things wrong with that stuffer that I didn't like, just some flaws in the design, and I wish I would have gotten this one. I just received this meat stuffer today. I had ordered it, but they may have been on back order, but I got it in today and I'm really happy with this design. It doesn't have the flaws that the other one does. I'm gonna do a video on the comparison between both before I return the other one to the store, but I want you guys to know, just buyer beware, if you will. But this one is definitely gonna be the one that I'm gonna use in the future. So let me bring you guys in closer to the sausages. All right, so here's the sausage, and like I mentioned, I think they got a little bit more plump when they sat in the fridge, and they got this really nice color. You can see right through the casing now. And this is just my regular beef and pork sausage, and this is my beef and pork sausage with the green chili, and you can see that through the casing. Now, this has a little bit of air pockets. Now, if I had a bigger air pocket, I would definitely pop that with some kind of bobby pin, something really sharp just to get rid of that. Sometimes the grease will collect where you have an air pocket like this, but that's a very small air pocket. I'm not too worried about it. You know, the sausage overall looks really good. All right, so I'm gonna grab 5 of each flavor. We're gonna be smoking these in my Yoder Y640 pellet smoker. I've got it set at 250 degrees. Let's head outside. All right, we're outside of my Yoder Y640 pellet smoker, and I'm gonna be smoking these sausages on the top shelf. Now, I didn't cut the links. I'm just gonna leave them whole just as is. Got 5 of the green chili sausages, and I actually have 6 of the regulars. So just gonna spread them out on the top shelf, just like that. We're gonna check back on them in about 30 minutes. All right, so it's been 30 minutes since I put the sausage on. Oh yes, look at that. They're getting nice and plump. So I'm just gonna flip these over. Oh yeah, look at those grill marks. This might be a little tricky because they're still tight together. There we go. But they are looking really, really good. Now the internal temperature that I'm looking for is 160 degrees. And again, it's only been about 35 minutes, so I'm gonna give it another probably 30 minutes. I'm gonna come back and get an internal temperature. Stay tuned. All right, so total cook time is 1 hour. It's been 30 minutes since we flipped the sausages. So I'm just gonna check the internal temperature on one of these, and I hate to do it because it's gonna pop the casing, but I gotta make sure that these sausages are ready. So I'm just gonna poke this one right here at the end. Oh yeah, 180. We went a little bit over, but that's okay. And check one of these. 174. So these are ready. Again, we were shooting for 160. We got enough fat content in there that they're not gonna be dry. They're still nice and plump. So I'm gonna pull them off and give them a taste. Stay tuned. All All right, so these sausages are ready and they've only been resting for about 5 minutes, so they're still pretty hot. I'm just gonna cut the links here, separate them, and grab a couple of these and a couple of these right here. These are the regular. All right, so I'm gonna slice into the regular beef and pork sausage and see what the consistency looks like. Oh yeah, nice and smooth surface. And you see that yellow kind of fat dripping out right there. I'm just squeezing it. And I wanted that, and the turmeric helps with that, okay? So you got a really nice smoke ring around the sausage. So just gonna grab a couple of slices so we can give this a taste. Really nice texture. One thing that I was worried about is that it was gonna be too crumbly, and it's not. You know, it's nice and smooth, and that's what you want on a sausage, okay? Here's our green chili. Slice into this one as well. Oh yeah, that looks really nice. Nice and juicy as well. Nice smooth texture. You can see the green chili in there. Oh yeah. Let's give this a taste. All right, the moment I've been waiting for 2 days. I'm gonna try the regular sausage first. And even though I went a little bit over on the temperature, it's still really juicy as you guys saw. So regular sausage first. That texture is really, really good. The seasoning is perfect. Even got a small smoke ring on the sausage. So that is really, really tasty. I'm really happy with that. I'm gonna try the green chili, the hatch green chili. Again, this is a XXX hatch green chili, which is really spicy. And I've got a few pieces in here. Cheers. All right, so the flavors are really similar, but this one obviously has a little bit more spice. I use the same sausage mixture. I just added some hatch green chili to the green chili ones. All right, so my favorite out of both of these is definitely gonna be the green chili. So I'm gonna make myself a little sausage dog here. Got some spicy brown mustard. Gonna add enough of this. Oh yes, I love spicy brown mustard. Look at that. Let's see if we get a snap. All right, so again, this is my first time ever making sausage, and it's work, but I gotta tell you, the end result is definitely worth it. I'm gonna leave links in the description box on where you can get your meat grinder and your meat stuffer, also the casings that I use in this video. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. Until next time, Joe with Smokin Joe's Pit Barbecue. See ya.